Many of you know Laurie, as Laurie has been working on the development of the LEADS system over the last year, and many of you were able to see her at Summer Institute and at LLR and LER trainings across the state this summer.
Hi, everybody. We're excited to be here today to kick off the data system. And so thank you for joining, and we can't wait to share our new features with you.
And this morning, you're going to be led by Miss Keisha Thomas. Keisha has served in several roles in local school systems, most recently a principal and district office person. Keisha has been working behind the scenes with our AAA team who have developed our system that you're going to see today. Keisha?
Good morning, everyone. We're glad you took time out to join on this information to learn more about the data system and the features that will be enhanced for you throughout the school year. Looking to partner with you as we roll out throughout the year as new features are updated. Welcome.
We also have from our AAA team, the behind the scenes work, Mr. Blake Capello joining us in case there's any technical questions. Blake?
Sorry, trying to hit the right button. Yeah, I'll be here to answer any questions and taking notes on anything that is discovered today.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for joining, Blake. So just a quick reminder to all of you, LEADS evaluation system was actually developed in partnership with NIET, who was selected as our vendor after an RFP process. And the LEADS evaluation system was named with the words strategically with advancement and development, as the sole purpose of the system is to grow educators, because we know that when we're growing educators, we know that our students are in turn going to grow and going to advance under their tutelage. Today, we're going to provide a general overview of the Louisiana evaluation system, which is actually part of a bigger system called the Louisiana Educator Portal. The LEP will contain the LES as well as certification and credentialing system. So it's going to be basically a one-stop shop for educators for all things observation, evaluation, and certification. In addition to today's webinar, we will be offering additional webinars that dig deeper into the system as we progress through the months of August through October. And we're also going to provide you with an opportunity to sign up for office hours where you can work right alongside our specialist to take a deeper dive individually and to receive support. During today's call, we are happy to answer questions. So we do encourage you to place those questions in the chat, and we will answer those via chat or come off of mute to share the answers when appropriate. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Keisha Thomas to guide you through today's webinar. Keisha?
Thank you, Dr. J. We will spend some time today going through various tasks and features of Louisiana evaluation system known as LES. Features will continually be rolled out over the year. We will be asking you to update your data system contacts so that we can continue to communicate and offer support to our system contacts to provide features as they are available. Formerly, these persons were known as CIS contacts, but now will be referred to as LES contacts. Beginning with the 2024-2025 school year, CIS will no longer be the data system for evaluations. The new data system is called LESS, which stands for the Louisiana Evaluation System, which is part of the bigger data system named LEP, Louisiana Educator Portal. This comprehensive data system will allow for both evaluators and teachers to access their evaluation data in real time, enter observations, complete self-assessments, link and update coaching plans, enter SLTs, and enter informal observations. Today, we will show you snippets of the system as features are continually being added. So let's get into the data system. As mentioned, it is part of the larger data system, which will be also referred to as Louisiana Educator Portal, known as LEP. LESS is a comprehensive data system that will hold all evaluation data for an individual. Rosters pre-populate from EdLink. Following a refresh, individuals will automatically transfer as they move system and data will follow. System-level contacts will have administrator access. These contacts will perform similar tasks, such as assigning evaluators, unlocking, and monitoring entry. Evaluators and evaluatees will enter data such as observation scores, conference scores, self-assessments, coaching plans, as well as entering and rating SLTs. Data will be entered throughout the school year. This system will send reminders through the year and will calculate the data ongoing. The system supports the full process and policy. Because of this, all data will be entered manually and there will no longer be a spreadsheet upload. LESS is replacing the Compass Information System, known as CIS, for 2024 to 2025. Even if you are using legacy systems such as Compass or approved alternate observation tools, rather than transitioning to LEADS, data will be entered into LESS. There will be no spreadsheet uploads, nor will EE-Pass roll into the new data system. LESS is scheduled to launch in mid-August. We will be testing the data system with pilot systems at the beginning of August. Fortunately, once launched, you will be able to begin working in the system for the current year. As you know, we were unable to work in CIS for the current year until the end of October and sometimes beginning November. LESS will allow for various tasks to be completed by evaluators, teachers, counselors, and school leaders. So let's take a look at this table here. Evaluators can be system leaders and principals. Evaluators will enter pre-conference dates, formal observation scores, end of year and middle of year conference scores, reinforcement and refinement areas and evidence, post-conference dates, enter informal observation dates, accept and rate SLTs, and finalize evaluations. Our teachers will be able to enter self-assessment scores, and also as they do that, reflect on and provide reinforcement and refinement areas and evidence. They will be able to link their PGP and coaching plans and enter SLTs and report results. For our counselors and school leaders, they will also be able to enter their personal self-assessment scores, reinforcement and refinement areas and evidence, link professional growth plans and coaching plans, as well as entering their SLTs and reporting their results. Here is also the snippet of what the system will look like as it relates to the ratings for observations with the stars illuminated. In the background, you also see a little snippet of the student learning target there. Here's the snippet where the system has enhancements and should be easier for users to add data and complete tasks. School and system leaders will be able to run reports that will be helpful in analyzing that teacher observation data across those grade levels, content areas, or by even reinforcement or refinement areas. Keep in mind the data system will calculate those observation scores once indicator scores are entered for each domain. The domains are located across the TOPSIS tabs, and we will get into that more in the presentation and show you more of what those tabs look like at the top. To access LES and to log in, teachers will follow steps 1 and 2 of the guide, the EdLink Security Guide. This must be done regardless if districts has opted in. All staff must have an active EdLink Security account. Only teachers who are new to EdLink Security should do this. Teachers should not create a new credential if they have an existing account. Some examples of those teachers who may already have an account would be special ed staff and teachers. They will already have an account, and those already using the Louisiana Department of Education professional learning platform known as Canopy. Staff will log into EdLink Security to access the Louisiana Educator Portal application. They will be prompted to enter their MILA user credentials to log into EdLink Security, but they should always go through the EdLink Security page. Now let's take a look at how we would select evaluatees. Take a note that system level leads will be able to assign evaluators from a drop-down list of certified evaluators. Those who pass the LEADS, LER, and LLR assessment will automatically be listed in the drop-down. For systems who are using the legacy system, such as Compass or another approved alternate rubric, we will need a list of certified evaluators so that the state level can mark those evaluators as certified. During the 2025-2026 school year, all evaluators will take a respective certification assessment to be identified as certified upon completion. Once evaluators have logged into LES, there will be a listing to choose from on the left as featured on the screen. The Assigned Evaluations tab will allow you to view the list of evaluatees as on the next screen. So on this next screen, after you have clicked that Assigned Evaluations, this is where you would view those evaluation records as a summary. This screen is displayed to show the evaluatees that would be assigned as evaluators. It would also allow you to select an evaluatee to begin an evaluator tasks. As we mentioned in previous slides, some of the evaluator tasks could include entering pre-conference dates, the formal observation scores, selecting refinement and reinforcement areas as long as evidence, accepting and rating SLTs, and finalizing the evaluations. As displayed on the screen, you can see that this sample here Some of the observations show 1 of 2 required, that it has been completed. Some are showing 0 of 2 are required. And we do realize some evaluatees may not need 2 observations. At this time, the system is defaulted to 2 observations. This will be updated by December. Let's begin with the task of observations and look at some of the features for entering observations. The good news for those who have used CIS in the past is that you may begin observations sooner than usual. As we have mentioned, the goal of LEADS, the new evaluation system, is differentiated support for evaluatees. Bulletin 130 provides the following minimum observation requirements. New teachers in the first 3 years of teaching will receive 3 observations. For teachers with 3 years of experience and beyond, 1 unannounced observation shall be conducted. If the first observation score is below 3.5, a second observation shall be conducted and shall be announced. If the average of the first 2 observations is less than 2.5, a third observation shall be conducted and shall be unannounced. This differentiation allows administrators to focus attention on new teachers and on those most in need of improvement while ensuring that effective teachers receive targeted feedback and can continue focusing their efforts on student growth. Bulletin 130 continues to allow systems to designate observers to assist in informing evaluation. Systems may wish to select experienced teachers who serve as instructional coaches or mentor or master teachers to assist with conducting observations. Central office personnel can assist with observations, however, should not be considered the evaluator for teachers. These designated observers are required to attend training and pass the certification assessment prior to observing. Remember, observers can conduct observations, which is a part of the full evaluation. All ratings must be entered into the data system by evaluators. Any observation in which ratings are assigned is considered a formal observation. Formal observations can be both announced and unannounced. LESS stores formal observation scores for approved rubrics that align to a 5.0 scale and are used by schools and systems to evaluate the professional practice of our educators. If you are not using LEADS for 2024-2025, you will place the actual score, the actual overall score, if you already have an approved rubric such as Compass or class in place. So I'll bring you to this sample snippet of the observation tab button, the observation button here on the left. When you click that observation button and select Add to generate a new observation form, will be displayed. There is also a blank observation form that can be printed using the button at the top where it says blank observation form. That is a blank observation form that can be printed. At this time, LESS does not house any scripting. This is a feature that will be added in future years. You may want to think of your system's procedure for where you would want your evaluators to keep any scripting. So here's the observation screen. You would complete the required fields of the observation to describe the circumstance of the visit. Please note you will need to complete at minimum the required fields in order to save the observation. The rubric field will allow you to select the appropriate rubric, such as a LEADS rubric, a Compass rubric, a class rubric, or any other approved alternate rubric. The observation title will be placed where it says title of the observation, while further description of the class can be placed under class description, followed by the name of the observer, the number of students being observed for student count, the observation date, the subject of the lesson being observed placed under course category. And under course category, I just want to make a note that that will be a drop down of listings of various courses. The grade level of the lesson being observed is also a drop down that will be displayed with all grades. And also then the pre-conference date is where you would list that pre-conference date before it going on to the next button, okay? Now, if you see that there's also a box that says observation was unannounced. So I'll show you on the next screen, on the next slide, that shows if you click the observation was unannounced, that the pre-conference date is no longer displayed. And then you would still be able to click next from there. Yeah. So now after we have entered our information for observations, we would score domains. The domains are listed at the top. And these are the tabs I think earlier we were talking about. The domains are listed at the top, known as tab, and we refer to them as these tabs. Instruction planning, environment, professionalism, and a complete one. After you would be able to score each domain. Evidence is optional for each domain. You would continue to proceed through each domain tab by assigning the ratings. So once you assign those ratings, the stars based on the ratings are highlighted. For example, such as on this sample, if the rating for standards and objectives is 3, then you would select 3 stars to be highlighted and go through it and so forth like that. And that's the process that would occur for each of the domains at the top. When you get to the complete tab, we would enter those reinforcement and refinement areas from the drop-down list and place the evidence in the field boxes. Notice that the notes and next steps fields are optional. The LEAD system is focused on growth and truly benefits those with a growth mindset. Self-assessment can be a valuable tool for educators to assess their professional practice, set goals, and reflect on their performance. It can help gain insights into methods and strategies, which can help our educators identify areas for improvement and make adjustments to improve student outcomes. For self-assessment, this is the snippet for self-assessment. Keep in mind that the post-observation occurs within at least 5 days after the observation. The self-assessment has to be completed in an adequate time frame to allow for the evaluator to review the self-assessment to prepare for the post-conference. So here on this self-assessment screen, it's similar to what we saw previously with domains listed at the top there for the evaluatee to begin their self-assessment. The evaluatee would score each domain tab. Evidence is optional, again, for each domain, and they would continue, the evaluatee would continue to proceed through each domain tab. The process will be similar to the way the evaluator scores the observation, being that those domains are at the top. and then scoring and assigning their ratings through self-assessment. When the evaluatee arrives at the Complete tab, again, they will enter reinforcement and refinement areas from a drop-down list. They can place evidence in the field boxes with, again, the notes and next steps as optional fields. On this particular slide for this one is in order to show how you view the evaluatee's self-rating. So as an evaluator, if you want to be able to see how the evaluatee rated themselves during their self-assessment, you would click that print button located at the top to view it as a PDF, and I'll show you what that looks like. When you click the print button to view its PDF on this slide, this report shows the evaluator's ratings and the evaluatee's ratings. Using the view from here will allow the evaluator to prepare for the post-conference. Because the focus of the observation is to provide feedback in the form of a reinforcement and refinement area, scores should not be shared with the evaluatee until the end of the post-conference. In a moment, you will be shown how to make the scores visible to the evaluatee. Keep in mind, all observations, announced and unannounced, must include a post-conference. Within 5 days, as we mentioned earlier, following the observations, educators will engage with their observer in a post-conference where the educator will reflect on their lesson and the evaluator will, at that time, be able to share feedback on a reinforcement and refinement area. The area of refinement will be reflected in the professional growth and coaching plan. The observation can be saved and edited until the post-conference date is entered and that observation at that point is complete. A refinement and reinforcement area have to be selected from that drop-down list, as we mentioned earlier. And you can place evidence in the field boxes. The notes and the next steps are optional, but you can feel free to place notes and next steps as they are, even though they're optional. Now let's take a look into the coaching plan, professional growth plan. Each observation results in an identified, as we mentioned, targeted area for refinement. So that refinement area will be reflected, as we mentioned, in the professional growth plan. These plans are individualized based on that refinement area. Highly reflective teachers may identify their own actions toward improvement during the post-conference. The number of actions and type of actions will vary based on teacher need. The individual who supports the educator through the follow-up, coaching, and support cycle is not limited to the person who observed the lesson. Responsibilities for coaching and supporting teachers following an observation and post-conference can be distributed among school and teacher leaders as appropriate, such as principals, assistant principals, deans, instructional coaches, mentor teachers, or content leaders. A targeted informal observation will be conducted at least 2, not more than 6 weeks following that post-conference. The plan is a living document in that it is revisited following each observation and can be adjusted as needed. Similar to where we selected the observations on the previous slide, This slide shows where underneath there that coaching plan, professional growth plan would be selected. The teacher would select the coaching plan, professional growth plan button and link a URL to the coaching plan. So URL would go into that coaching plan right there. Now, since the plan is a living document that can be, that is revisited and should be revisited, a link to the coaching plan is added and the plan would be updated as adjusted. Now, school systems have autonomy with coaching plan templates. A viewable link does have to be added. However, the exact format or template of the plan is left up to you. Now, on this particular sample, we're adding that the evaluator is adding the formal observation to the coaching plan using the Add Formal Observation button. This is where the evaluator will click the Add Formal Observation button. Once that button is clicked, then a pop-up box is displayed. And this is where the evaluator will be able to select the observation and press submit. This will attach the observation to the actual coaching plan. Once that formal observation has been added to the coaching plan, then the informal observation can be added. And here's where you see the add informal observation with the plus sign button displayed. And that button is displayed, like I said, after that formal observation has been added to the coaching plan. When you're ready to add the informal observation and the click of that add informal observation button, then the add an informal observation box will be displayed for you to complete, the evaluator to complete the fields for adding the informal observation, such as the date and a refinement area. Notes are optional. Feel free to place them there, but the notes are optional and you would be able to submit from there. Moving right along to student learning targets. Our student learning targets policy requires evaluators to meet with the evaluators to discuss each student learning target. The student learning target process has not changed. However, in systems that have transitioned to LEADs, the scale will be 5 points rather than 4 points. There is an SLT reflection tool located in the Compass Library on the website that provides the LEADS scale for SLTs. The evaluatee will complete the available fields of the student learning target to describe the group of students they are targeting, such as an SLT title will be placed in that box, along with the next would be the actual student learning target. Interval of instruction would be the length of the course that the students are taking, if applicable, such as full academic year, the semester, or if it's some other situation. The number of students included in the target group for this goal should be placed for student count. The subject area or course in which students will display academic progress would be selected for course category. The grade level of students, if applicable, would be in the drop-down for grade. Then the student assessment would be selected from a drop-down menu. And there is also an other student assessment category as well in the drop down if one is not listed. I have met with my evaluator, should be checked off once that evaluatee has met with that evaluator about their SLT. Okay. The SLT reflection tool, as I mentioned, can be used to get started for SLTs, and a copy of that is in the Compass library. For scoring information, the evaluatee would place their scoring information here by entering the rationale for the SLT, along with the baseline data for how they arrived to develop their SLT, and then began to define their achievement ratings that would correspond to the actual score, okay? If you are using a legacy rubric, then the SLT will be on a 4-point scale and should be reflected in the system. Now, after that evaluatee has placed their information in regarding their SLT, the evaluator will then be able to accept the SLT. At this time, the evaluator will be able to review the SLT and the scoring details to ensure accuracy. The evaluator will then accept the SLT if the SLT is what was agreed upon during the SLT meeting, and the evaluator would accept it at this time. Now we're going to take a look inside of the leader and counselor conferences. How will we be entering in those middle of year, end of year conference performance reviews? Evaluators will enter scores, reinforcement and refinement areas, evidence, and any links for artifacts during these conference performance reviews. Performance reviews occur as part of the leader and counselor evaluations. This is a snippet of the conference review screen for the leader and counselor reviews. For entering that information, again, their domain tabs that correspond for that leader or counselor information, rubric. Evaluators would proceed through each domain tab, similar to like what we have looked at as part of observations earlier. Those domains are listed at the top to correspond with their appropriate rubric. Once getting to that complete, as we're completing that leader and counselor conference, we would enter the reinforcement and refinement areas from a drop-down list as well. Evidence would be placed in the boxes just as the process we followed for some previous steps for observation. And the notes and next steps are, again, optional fields as well for the leader and counselor conference. Entering the PGPs here, remember that school systems have autonomy with the coaching plans and templates. A viewable link does have to be added for that link to the coaching plan. However, that template is, again, left up to you. Now, there will be a variety of reports that will be available throughout the year, similar to CIS reports and some enhanced reports. School and system leaders will be able to run reports that will be helpful in analyzing teacher observation data across grade levels, Also being able to look at content areas, also reinforcement and refinement areas, along with some other specifics for those different reports throughout the school year. As this is a learning year for us all, systems will receive support with implementation during the learning year of the data system as well, in the form of webinars and office hours for technical assistance. Things that could be worked on, you may be wondering, like, what are some things that could be worked on before the system goes live mid-August? One thing is employees can create or update their EdLink accounts, and they can begin assessing to obtain baseline information, possibly for SOTs. So those are just a few things, and you may even think of some more of that before it goes live. The system will be launched mid-August, as we mentioned, with some pilot systems starting at the beginning of August in the system. At this time, we will take a look inside the chat here. I'm not sure if all have been answered. If one of my colleagues want to tell me if all have been answered or if something needs to be answered.
We have been answering questions as we've received them, and happy to continue to receive questions via chat. We're willing to stay on till 9:30 with anyone who has questions. If not, the formal presentation has been completed. Correct, Keisha? You're on mute, Keisha.
Sorry. As mentioned, we were just going to state that the campus library is continually being added with additional resources as it relates to not only leads, but also that's where information as well, the data system resources will also be placed there as well.
Laurie, do you want to speak to how the staff is going to be entered into the system? I believe
Locally,
that's,
yeah,
go ahead.
locally, locally systems have a data manager that enters new staff as they're hired into eScholar, and eScholar connects to EdLink. EdLink is what is going to populate the rosters in the data system.
And yes, assistant principals will have a beginning of year, middle of year, and end of year conference. The principal who serves as the evaluator of that assistant principal will be the one conducting those conferences.
Yeah, we keep getting some questions about central office staff not being able to be evaluators. I think that might have been a misconfusion when it was talked about designated observers versus evaluators. Central office staff can be an evaluator for either teachers or leaders, depending on the particular system and their needs. As long as they take the training and pass the assessment, they can be an evaluator.
However, it is important to understand that the evaluator, in most cases, should be the principal and/or assistant principal. Those are the individuals who are overseeing the day-to-day work that the teachers are doing. They are the only ones who should be completing the professionalism survey on those individuals. A central office person obviously can come in and observe. They can share the ratings so the evaluator can go ahead and enter that into the system. But the evaluator in most cases should be someone who is overseeing the day-to-day work that the educator is doing. Curriculum coaches, instructional coaches, executive master teachers at central office. Those are individuals you obviously can use to observe your teachers. They are individuals who can provide great feedback during an observation. They can assist with reinforcement and refinement, and they can also assist with coaching. So the evaluator serving as the person serving as the evaluator for the educator is not the only person who can work on the coaching plan, do the informal observation where the work of the coaching plan is being observed, can be done by observers.
We had some questions about historical data. All historical data is going to roll into the new system. You will be finalizing 23-24 in CIS. As soon as it is complete, it will also roll over all completed data. As of now, the waiver for principals is only applying to principals, not other school leaders.
And while you can use that option for principals, best practice would say, because it's a new system, that you would spend time with the principal doing the beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year conference. Because number one, it's a model for how they should hold those conferences with the counselor as well as the assistant principal. As well as even your most effective principals do want the opportunity to continue to grow and deserve to have coaching opportunities. So we do encourage, especially during this first year, that you all consider, even for your most effective principals, using the beginning, middle, and end of year conference options.
Yes, that's correct. The observer can conduct the pre-conference observation, determine the indicator scores, conduct the post-conference, the coaching plan. Yes, but the evaluator must enter those scores. And the evaluator, if you're doing leads, is going to be entering the professionalism domain. That's correct.
Yes, and again, typically an observer like a master teacher or a mentor teacher is someone who is seen as support rather than sort of serving as the evaluator, the final decision maker. And so on that professionalism survey, we would suggest that the principal maybe step in at the conclusion of the post-conference and share the professionalism rating with the educator, rather than having a mentor or master teacher share those results, especially if it's someone whose score is going to be low. You want that principal or assistant principal being the person making sure that that teacher understands why the professionalism survey was scored low. All right, we're happy to stay on for the next 7 minutes with you all to continue answering your questions.
Just going to reiterate one more time, because I did get a couple of direct messages about spreadsheet uploads or EE-Pass. Again, that is not an option for the 24-25 school year. Our new data system is a one-stop shop, regardless of the option that you selected. If you selected to use a legacy system such as Compass or another approved alternate rubric, you'll be entering your overall observation scores, but you will enter scores throughout the year. All data is going to be entered ongoing throughout the year, so that is complete by the end of the year. We will not have a rollover from EE-Pass nor spreadsheet uploads, so please plan to enter your observations ongoing throughout the year as they're conducted.
I want to address a question regarding the professional growth plan. So a reminder that the professional growth plan is developed after the first observation, and then you do have to observe after you provide that refinement area and use it to create the professional growth plan at least 2 weeks, but not more than 6 weeks after the professional growth plan is created. For your educators that are only receiving one observation, that may be the only documentation that goes in a professional growth plan. For your educators who are having multiple observations, the professional growth plan can be seen as a living document. If the individual is making great progress on that first refinement area, you do have the opportunity to change to a different refinement area. If the individual is not making satisfactory progress in that refinement area, you can continue to require that to be the focus of the professional growth plan. You can continue to follow up on that refinement area and require the teacher to focus their work on that. So it's going to be situational, but the professional growth plan is just one document, and you will be able to add and add how you're coaching, any changes that you're making to that actual document. And then Laurie, do you want to speak to the counselors being from similar to teachers or leaders?
Counselors are more similar to leaders. The information on the counselor rubric and process is included in the Louisiana leader training. They have a beginning of the year conference, middle of the year conference, and an end of year conference. For counselors and leaders, only the middle of year and end of year conferences are added in the system because these are the only two that have scores, and only principals have the option of the waiving of one conference.
And it is that is one of the things that we're looking at as we're going through the learning year to determine if we want to have the assistant principals and counselors similar to teachers with the year's experience and the rating differentiation. But current policy only allows that for principals, not counselors, not assistant principals. We do have just about 3 minutes. So you're not going to necessarily apply for a waiver or anything like that. What we mean is that a highly effective principal, Laurie, is it a 3.5 or higher or more than 3 years?
Over 3 years and a 3.5 final score the previous year, only for
then the
principals.
principal would only need to have the end of year conference. But again, just like teachers, principals deserve to have high quality coaching as well. Well, oh, there's. Laurie, do we have a one-pager created on that? I know we have the frequently asked questions document. We've got
A timeline is going to come out shortly, but that would be very similar to the past, right? At the beginning of the year, you're entering SLT. The teachers are entering SLTs. Observations data begins to get entered. That, like I said, the timeline is going to come out soon, but it will be very similar to previous timelines.
Well, as we are wrapping up, we do want to remind you that we do have resources in the Compass Leads library. And you can also email leads@la.gov with any questions that you have. We answer those typically within a day or so. And so we're happy to continue to receive those. That helps us to build out our FAQ document. Keisha, thank you so much for such a detailed presentation. The time and effort you put into this is certainly appreciated, and I know our systems appreciate it. And I did want to remind you that we are going to have further webinars as the system gets more built out and developed. And we are also going to begin to inform you about office hours to where you can receive one-on-one attention and support from Keisha, from Laurie, from members of our AAA team. And we appreciate you for joining today, and we hope that you have an amazing start of the school year. Thanks so much.